Hello, my name is Troy, and this is my reflective self-assessment for the class. Just wanted to say I'm very thankful that I had the chance to take this class, and I did learn a lot. Due to having a time limit on the video, I picked out the most important things that stood out to me in the class and that I've learned. So to start, what is process addiction? Pretty much a process addiction is an addictive behaviors that occur as a result of activities that do not directly involve drugs or alcohol. So some example of this include gambling addiction, internet and video gaming, shopping, sex addictions, exercising, and eating disorders. So, what are some of the things that I've learned? One thing that I learned is that identifying process addictions is not always easy. There's no easy way to define or diagnose process addictions in people. Because what one person may see as addictive, other people might not. And there are different types of criteria that goes into each diagnosis of an addiction. Another big takeaway is that there are different ideas of what the addiction cycle looks like. For example, the biggest one we talked about was Griffith's addiction cycle, which includes the salience, mood modification, tolerance, withdrawal, and relapse stages. So pretty much with the salience, you're thinking about it constantly, and that's what your mind's preoccupied with. Then mood modification, how it changes your behavior. The tolerance, it taking more and more to keep you going. And the withdrawal is the feelings of you go through when you don't have it or do the addictive behavior. And the relapse is when you quit and then you slip up and kind of get started again. So another big thing I've learned is that treatment for addictions is a process, and it does take time. Sometimes this process can be long, sometimes it may not take so long. The helpers need to be just as committed as clients for treatment to be successful and beneficial. And another big thing that not many people might understand is that relapse is a part of the recovery process. During the client's treatment process, there are going to be times where they relapse and have to start all over, and sometimes that's okay. I found a statistic online about relapsing. I think it said about 70% of people with addictive behavior seeking treatment relapse at least once before they are able to remain sober for a long period of time. And I think that's important to keep in mind too, just proving that relapsing does happen and that's okay as long as they keep working to get better. Some people tend to think that once you relapse, you're never going to get better. I mean, sometimes that may be true, and sometimes that might not be true. I've also learned that there's different types of treatment options out there, your one-on-one therapy, group therapy, different counseling programs, and there's different types of medications out there. So what works for one client might not work for every other client, so you gotta work at finding what works best for them. Something to keep in mind is that addictions have multiple factors behind it, or addiction has multiple factors behind it. There's a genetic component, there's environmental factors, social, different mental illnesses can play a part, and so on. So a person can have certain genes that can predispose them to possibly forming addictive behaviors when they get older, the environment which you live in, so such as like the people you hang around and the people that are in your area can have an effect. And mental illnesses such as like you can have like depression, anxiety, and stuff like that leads to a greater risk of developing addictive behaviors. So how is this information that I've learned, how will that impact how I treat clients in the future? Well, I already try to do this, but one big thing is to treat everyone as best and equally as possible. And what that means is, like, for this example, people with an addiction are no less of a person than someone without an addiction. So just because they're addicted to something don't mean they're less of an importance or less of a person. Also, don't judge or shame people for their addiction. A lot of people out there with an addiction do not seek help. And this is due to that shame or guilt they may feel for reaching out to others. It's important to be accepting and sincere about helping. And it's important to try to be open-minded about every situation. You should try to go into each situation trying to be, open-minded and not have like a preset mindset on like, okay, this person has this addiction, so they're this, and this. And not be willing to change or take in other factors or information that might be helpful towards treating that client. And again, we don't know their story on why or how they became addicted to something. So, have my feelings, beliefs, or interests changed by taking this course? I would say so. I've taken different addiction courses in the past. And even though I've taken different ones in the past, I still feel like this one has taught me a lot. And one of my biggest belief changes from taking these courses is that addiction is a disease, not a choice. I know a lot of people, and then myself included, like in the past, like had that mindset of, okay, well, a person chose to do a certain drug or behavior, so therefore they chose to be addiction, or chose to be addictive, and looking back on that, that's kind of silly and dumb to think. So I'm glad that I actually learned the science behind it and was able to figure out that addiction is not a choice. By taking these courses, I've definitely became more interested in learning about the topic of addiction. It's also given me a greater appreciation for those who are studying and trying to treat different addictions. And another big thing is that everyone deserves a chance for getting help. And that is about all the time I have. So thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, possibly learned something new.